Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Haribol, could you sing it, the Panchatattva mantra before starting?
Okay. Jaya Jaya Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Om Adgana Timilam Dasya, Jnanam Shanam Sadakaya, Chaksun Militam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Namah Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutali, Srimate Bhaktivedanta, Swami Niti Namini, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Prasharini, Nirvisesa Shunyavati, Pashatya Deshatadini, Shayushri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripasindhu Vyaivacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavibhyo, Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So I want again to say how grateful and honored I am to be amongst all of you in that beautiful temple of Shri Radha Parisisvara. We were discussing this morning with Shiva Prana. Every time I come, it's more and more ecstatic. The Prabhus are singing kirtan more and more beautifully. And Prabhupada and the deities, they look so satisfied because we can see, looking at the deities, Prabhupada, we can see how you cooperate nicely together. You know, very humble, very ecstatic, very respectful of everyone. So it has been, I'm sure you can say the same. Huh? So on behalf of Srila Prabhupada, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. So today, it's Chaitanya Charitamrita, beautiful Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's chapter 10, the trunk, the branches, and the sub-branches of the Chaitanya tree. So it's an unusual chapter, the kind of chapter we've seen also in Srimad Bhagavatam, or we can see in the Bible, when it's a lot of names. So sometimes to our materialistic mind, it can, especially when the names are not very known to us, it can seem a little boring. But actually, it's all nectar. And when I saw the verse, I thought, oh. Yeah. But a lot of names we actually know. And even if we don't know them, they are full of nectar, because they're the names of the pure devotees of Lord Chaitanya. And we know in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the very special thing is actually to learn about Lord Chaitanya and the relationships he has with his pure devotee. Very unique relationships. So we're going to read the Bengali verse. It's Priyarani, she knows the tone. So we will go from verse 148 to 150, and after we will talk about other verses also. So we will especially read the synonyms and the purport of the last verse. 150 we will repeat together. But we start reading the Sanskrit and the translation.
From here.
Yeah.
Ramabhadracharya ara odrasime swara tapana acharya ara raguni nambara.
Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Among the devotees who lived with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri, Ramabhadracharya was the 26th, Simeshvara the 27th, Tapana Acharya the 28th, Raghunath Bhattacharya the 29th, and Nilambarava the 30th. Next verse.
Singhavata Kamavata Dantura Sivananda Gauri Purva Pritya Pravura Priya Kamalananda.
Translation. Singhavata was the 31st, Kamavata the 32nd, Shivananda the 33rd, and Kamalananda 34th. They all formerly served Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Bengal, but later these servants left Bengal to live with the Lord in Jagannath Puri. Then the verse 150.
Achyutananda Advaita Charyatanaya Nila Chale Rai Prabhura Charana Ashraya.
Synonyms.
We don't repeat this one?
Yeah, we should repeat. It's very, very, very nice. So, who wants to start repeating?
Achyutananda Advaita Charyatanaya
Achyutananda Advaita Acharya
Nilachale Rahe Prabhu Charana Ashraya
Nilachale Rahe Prabhura Charana Ashraya.
Achyutananda Advaita Charyatanaya
Achyutananda Advaita Charyatanaya
Nilachale Rahe Prabhura Charana Ashraya
Nilachale Rahe Prabhura Charana Ashraya
Achyutananda Advaita Acharyatanaya
Achyutananda Advaita Acharyatanaya
Nilachale Rahe Prabhu Charana Ashraya
Nilachale Rahe Prabhura Charana Ashraya. Anybody else? No? Okay. Synonyms. Achyutananda.
Achyutananda.
Achyutananda. Advaita Acharya Tanaya.
Advaita Acharyatanaya.
The son of Advaita Acharya.
The son of Advaita Acharya.
Nilachale
Nilachale
et Jagannath
Jagannath Puri,
Rahe stays Prabhura of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Lotus feet, Sharana,
Sharana,
lotus feet,
lotus feet,
Ashraya,
Ashraya,
taking shelter.
taking shelter.
Translation by His Divine Grace, S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Achyutananda, the 35th devotee, was the son of Advaita Acharya. He also lived with Lord Chaitanya, taking shelter of his lotus feet at Jagannath Puri. Purport, very short purport by Srila Prabhupada. There is a statement about Achyutananda in chapter 12, verse 13 of the Adi-Lila. So here Srila Prabhupada is inviting us to hear that verse of the Adi-Lila. So we cannot refuse. We are going to listen who is Achyutananda now by Srila Prabhupada. It's if you want to follow, it's chapter 12, the expansions of Advaita Acharya and Gadadhar Pandit, text 13.
Achyutananda Padasaka Acharyanandana An Ajanma Sevila Tenho Chaitanya Charana.
A big branch of Advaita Acharya was his son Achyutananda. From the beginning of his life, he engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. Next verse.
Chaitanya Gosalira Guru Kesava Bharati Epitara Vakya Suni Dukha Paila Ati.
When Achyutananda heard from his father that Kesava Bharati was the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was very unhappy. 15.
Jagat Guru te tumi kara aiche upadesa tumara ye upadese nasta haila desa.
He told his father, your instruction that Kesava Bharati is the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will spoil the entire country. 16.
Chauta Puvanera Guru Chaitanya Gosani Tanra Guru Anya ye Kona Sastrenai.
Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the spiritual master of the 14 worlds. But you said that someone else is his spiritual master. This is not supported by any revealed scripture.
Panchama Varsera Balaka Kahe Siddhantera Sara Sunya Paila Acharya Santosa Apara.
When Advaita Acharya heard this statement from his 5-year-old son, Achyutananda, he felt great satisfaction because of his conclusive judgment. So you see, he was only 5 years old. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Commenting on verses 13 to 17, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives an extensive description of the descendants of Advaita Acharya. The Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antya-kanda, chapter 1, states that Achyutananda was the eldest son of Advaita Acharya. The Sanskrit book Advaita Charita states, Advaita Acharya Prabhu had 3 sons who were devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Their names were Achyuta Krishna Mishra and Gopal Dasa, and they were all born of the womb of his wife Sita Devi. Haribol, Haribol. Advaita Acharya also had 3 more sons whose names were Balaram, Svarup and Jagadish. Thus, there were 6 sons of Advaita Acharya. Among the 6 sons, 3 were strict followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and of these 3, Achyutananda was the eldest. Advaita Prabhu married in the beginning of the 15th century, Shakabda, late 15th century, after Lord Jesus Christ. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to visit the village of Ramakeli while going from Jagannath Puri to Vrindavan during the Shakabda years 1433 to 34, so it's 1511 and 1512, Achyutananda was only 5 years old. The Chaitanya Bhagavat, Achyutananda, 4th chapter, describe Achyutananda at that time as Pancha Vadsha Vayasam Madhura Dingambara, only 5 years old, standing naked. Therefore, it is to be concluded that Achyutananda was born sometimes in the year 1420, for us 1506, before the birth of Achyutananda. Advaita Prabhu's wife, Sita Devi, came to see Lord Chaitanya at his birth. Thus, it is not impossible that she had the other 3 sons by Advaita within the 21 years between 1407 and 1428, for us 1486 and 1507, in an unauthorized book of the name Sitadvaita Charita, published in Bengali in the unauthorized newspaper Nityananda Dayini in 1792 Shakabda, for us 1870, it is mentioned that Achyutananda was a class friend of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. According to the Chaitanya Bhagavat, this statement is not at all valid. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the renounced order of sannyas in the year 1509 for us, he came to the house of Advaita Prabhu at Shantipur. At that time, it stated in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antyakhanda, chapter 1, Achyutananda was only 3 years old. The Chaitanya Bhagavat further states that the naked child, the son of Advaita Prabhu, immediately came and fell down at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 3 years old. The Lord immediately took him on his lap, although he was not very clean, having dust all over his body. Lord Chaitanya said, "My dear Achyuta, Advaita Acharya is my father, and us we are brothers." Before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his spiritual forms during his residence at Navadvip, he asked Sri Rama Pandit, Srivas Thakur's brother, to go to Shantipur and bring back Advaita Acharya. Achyutananda joined his father at that time. It is said,
Advaitera Tanaya Achyutananda Nama Parama Balaka Sivu Kandeya Virama.
Achyutananda also joined in crying in transcendental bliss. Again, when Lord Chaitanya beat Advaita Acharya for explaining Srimad Bhagavatam from an impersonalist viewpoint opposed to the principles of Bhakti Yoga, Achyutananda was also present. Therefore, all these incidents must have occurred only 2 or 3 years before Lord Chaitanya accepted the sannyas order. As mentioned above, in the Chaitanya Bhagavatam Kathas, chapter 1, it is stated that Achyutananda, the son of Advaita Acharya, offered his obeisances to the Lord. Therefore, it should be concluded that from the very beginning of his life, Achyutananda was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is no information that Achyutananda ever married, but he is described as the biggest branch of the Advaita Acharya family. From a book named Shaka Nilnayamrita, it is understood that Achyutananda was a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit and that he took shelter of Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri and engaged in devotional service. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi-Lila, chapter 10, states that Achyutananda, the son of Advaita Acharya, lived in Jagannath Puri, taking shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar Pandit, in the last years of his life, also lived with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri. There is no doubt, therefore, that Achyutananda was a disciple of Pandit Gadadhar. In the accounts of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing in front of the car during the Ratha Yatra festival, Achyutananda's name is to be found many times. It is stated that in the party of Advaita Acharya from Shantipur, Achyutananda was dancing and others were singing. At that time, the boy was only 6 years old. Text 87 of the Gaura Ganodesha Dipika, compiled by Sri Kavi Karnapur. This text describes Achyutananda as a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit and a great and dear devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. According to the opinion of some, he was an incarnation of Kartikeya, the son of Lord Shiva, and according to others, he was formerly the gopi named Achyuta. The Gora Ganodesha Dipika, verse 88, supports both these opinions. Another book, Narottam Vilas, compiled by Srinavahave Das, mentioned Achyutananda's presence during the festival at Ketari. According to Sri Narahari Das, during the last days of his life, Achyutananda stayed in his house at Shantipur. But during the presence of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he lived at Jagannath Puri with Gadadhar Pandit. So we were very fortunate, actually. We got to class by Srila Prabhupada and by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta about Achyutananda Prabhu. What else do we need? So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said about the beautiful Chaitanya Charitamrita the following, that if he was to be alone, let's say in a desert island, he would keep 3 books with him, the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But if he could keep only 1 book, it will be the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Of course, the Chaitanya Charitamrita is the post-study of the first 2 books. Krishna Das Kaviraj took back, the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Of course, he read the Chaitanya Bhagavat, but he put more philosophy in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Back in the first years of the movement, Srila Prabhupada was talking about Lord Chaitanya. And our dear Govinda Dasi was asked to paint also pictures of Lord Chaitanya. And she told Srila Prabhupada, you should actually translate books about Lord Chaitanya. You should translate Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada hesitated between Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charitamrita, but he took Chaitanya Charitamrita because there is more philosophy explained in details, pastimes and philosophy. And for the pastimes that he didn't describe fully, he told we can see in Chaitanya Bhagavat. So, as we mentioned before, Chaitanya Charitamrita is full of nectar. We can read in great details the beautiful relationships between the Lord and his devotees. All unique, all different. Sometimes the Lord is always very merciful, but sometimes he's very kind. Sometimes he chastises. And this is absolutely unique to see the pastimes he has with all the branches and sub-branches of the big tree that he actually incarnates. So we can see in Chaitanya Charitamrita a lot of examples of trees. For example, you remember the beautiful verses when Lord Chaitanya said, I came as a gardener, and I have planted a small plant, and I watered it with the water of my sweet will. And the tree has grown. First it was a bush, then it became a big tree, and it actually grew beautiful fruit, the fruit of Krishna Prema, love of God. But then the Lord was lamenting, I have only 2 hands and it's so many fruits. How can I distribute alone these fruits of Krishna Prema? Some people will actually be able to escape the net of love of God that I have established. So he begged all his associates to help him to open the storehouse of love of God and to distribute it to everyone. But then he asked also everyone in the universe to help him. And most of you here, that's what you are doing when you distribute Srila Prabhupada books. You are helping Lord Chaitanya to distribute the fruits of love of God. And if we are not distributing, if we are helping with the deity worship or with the cooking, it's also to help the mission, the books to be distributed. That's very, very beautiful. So like we've seen in India, most of you have seen the banyan trees. We see the trunk, then we don't understand about the branch and the sub-branches. So this tree of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like that. It's so many branches and ecstatic sub-branches, and they are unlimited fruits of Krishna Prema, of love of God. So all these beautiful chapter with many names we're not aware of actually brings us to Jagannath Puri. Some of the branches and sub-branches, they actually knew Lord Chaitanya in Navadvip. But some of them knew him in Jagannath Puri, and all of them came think it was during the monsoon season. Because the big Ratha Yatra happens during the monsoon season. Then they all came to Jagannath Puri. So just a few words about Jagannath Puri. Who has been to Jagannath Puri? Almost everybody, not yet. You've been, Prabhuji?
No.
Not yet. So, we envy you. You're going to be so much in ecstasy when you go. Yeah. Jagannath Puri actually gather the characteristic of all the holy Dharma. It has the sweetness of Vrindavan. It has the infinite mercy of Mayapur. Mayapur, when devotee asks in Mayapur, how can we make progress in Mayapur? He asked Jaipatak Maharaj. And Jaipatak Maharaj said, you just breathe. You just breathe. And when you sleep, it's like you've done so many yagya. Everything you do in Mayapur, just mercy. But in Jagannath Puri, there is something very, very special, very deep, that was displayed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he spent the 18 last years, and when he actually came with the internal objective to understand the love of Srimati Radharani. For him, Krishna, it's actually that feeling of separation. It's very deep, it's very profound, and it's very much exhibited in the Ratha Yatra festival. So we could read, and we have read, the Ratha Yatra festival at the time of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when actually Lord Jagannath wants to go back to Vrindavan. And during this Ratha Yatra, the devotees are pulling the ropes of the cart to bring Krishna to Vrindavan. So I wanted to share with you this year, that was my first time in Jagannath Puri during the Ratha Yatra. And that's an amazing spiritual experience. There were about 1,002,000 devotees coming from all over India. And it's something that needs to be experienced one time in one life. I remember some devotees told me in Mayapur, and some young devotees and some god brothers and sisters, Mondakini, don't go in the crowd. There is a hotel. You can stay. You pay 500 rupees and you climb up and you can see everything. But that didn't appeal to me because I love adventures, and I think once in a life you cannot just go in a hotel and maybe that happen if the Lord doesn't want to move. You will stay all day standing on the balcony seeing nothing. So we dove in the crowd. And that was wild. Actually, ambulances were passing non-stop. 600 people were taken to the hospital. Nobody died. So I was with a Russian group of devotees. And at one point, Lord Jagannath was still standing. Lord Balaram went a little bit before to clear the path, and he was followed by Lady Subhadra. And they were so beautiful. It was such an experience. They were so huge, as some of you have seen when you are in the Indian body, but some of us will just saw pictures. But the Lord is absolutely huge. And he came out to on these days to see the most fallen. So we with a little group, we were 20, we felt very proud to be the most fallen. we were telling the Lord, we come from Mlecha land. So you came out for us to be seen. And the Lord was very merciful. So we decided to follow the cart slowly to try to reach Lady Subhadra and Lord Balaram. And we were a few ladies. We had a group of very big Russian Prabhus in circle around us. There was one very big, both ways. we called him the icebreaker. And he actually was very peaceful. He was just advancing and everybody was pushed, And it became more and more ecstatic. We had kirtan. And we approached Lady Subhadra, but not so close, but the most merciful to let us approach very near was Lord Balaram, the original spiritual master. Actually, our leader, Valmiki Prabhu, said, don't go under the ropes, I don't know what will happen, you may die, but we came near the ropes and we couldn't resist and we boom. And then very nice Pujari, they told us to come in and Lord Balaram was smiling. It was so wonderful that in India, of course, India, before Prabhupada came, was very much looking to materialistic value. But Prabhupada brought his white elephants to show them that although in the West, in America, and in Europe, people have everything they need, but still the greatest treasure for them is actually the culture, the Vedic culture of India, the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then because of Srila Prabhupada's wonderful preaching, India is becoming so active in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada says, you scratch and just beneath, Krishna consciousness is flowing. If you drive on the motorway, you will see Krishna's name everywhere, Krishna's bar, Krishna's garage. It's impossible to forget Krishna. So that Vasayatra experience cannot be described in words. You have to live it. It's a wonderful experience, and it makes us remember the time of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when actually the Lord really wanted to go to Vrindavan. He wanted to go to Gundicha, to Vrindavan. And everybody was helping him to go to Vrindavan. We remember how Lord Chaitanya actually washed in such a wonderful way Gundicha. And by doing so, how everybody washed his heart. And everybody was actually struggling to get the biggest pile of dust. But Lord Chaitanya always got the biggest. And then people came to wash, and some very clever devotees, when they brought the water, they pretend to wash, but they poured the water on the feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they couldn't drink that Abhishek from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Jagannath Puri is full of this beautiful pastime. And Vasayatra is a big event. The Lord is actually advancing according to his sweet will. Like this time, Lord Jagannath didn't move until late at night. Then next morning he started to move. You know, it took longer than usual. People never know when the carts are going to arrive. And we, of course, we remember at the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur that Lord Jagannath stopped in front of the house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And when the wife of Bhaktivinoda Thakur brought the newborn child, that Bhaktivinoda Thakur had prayed for, the child that was actually called the ray of Vishnu, and the cart stopped, and the garland fell on the neck of the child. So Lord Jagannath is very merciful. He is the Lord of the universe, and in the beginning, when the first Western devotees came, Srila Prabhupada wanted the pujaris, the priest, the Banda, to let them enter the temple of Jagannath. But they refused, because we were coming from the land of the Mlechas and the Yavana. We ate meat from the beginning of our life. And Prabhupada became so angry. He wrote a letter to them. He said, why do you not let them enter? They are pure Vaishnav. And he was screaming in his letter. He was saying, do you think Lord Jagannath is actually from Puri, that he's the Lord of Puri? Do you think he's the Lord of Orissa? No, he's the Lord of the universe. And then Prabhupada decided, out of solidarity for us, not to enter himself. He actually followed in the footsteps of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who said actually that one is not a Brahmana or a pure devotee by birth. You know, it's actually the devotion that makes a pure devotee, and follow the rules, the regulation. So also in Jagannath Puri, maybe some of you know already, you probably know, there's some scriptures that says that one day some devotees will come from Russia. And either they will steal Lord Jagannath, or Lord Jagannath will follow them. It's some prediction, and they're very frightened, especially when we come with the Russian devotees, because they come from Siberia. And it is told that when before Lord Jagannath appeared and was sculpted from the big logs of wood, there was Nila Madhava. And Nila Madhava was worshipped by the Shabar. And it's understood that the Siberian people, they are descendants of the Shabar. So when our devotees come from Siberia, the pandas, they get very nervous. But Prabhupada said, you don't want them to go inside the temple, but Lord Jagannath has come out already. He has come all over the world. And in every city practically of the world, every country of the world, you have actually Lord Jagannath, Lord Baladev, and Lady Subhadra, because he's actually the Lord of the universe. So today we were back in Jagannath Puri with all these wonderful devotees, and Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur were very kind to tell us more about Achyutananda. So Prabhupada has named one devotee, Achyutananda, very wonderful devotee, was Swami at one point. Prabhupada actually loved his lectures. He used to sit and listen at his lectures. He's in Alachua now. and he's going to come on our Russian Zoom session soon. He has written a book called Don't Trust a Swami That Doesn't Dance. So, dear devotees, we are approaching the time. So, if anybody wants to add anything or ask any question, we have 5 minutes. Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you for sharing your experience with Jagannath Puri. I had the good fortune of going to Radha there in 2006.
Yeah, tell us.
Radha Swami went that year, and Achyutananda Swami, and Chandramali Swami,
Wow.
and Diduna Swami, and Sri Prahlad.
Oh my God.
The crowd is incredible. They have people spraying people with water to keep them cool, you know?
Actually, big, how do you,
Fire extinguisher.
huh?
Fire extinguisher.
Yeah,
Really?
like, yeah.
But the thing that was most striking to me is like, sometimes, as you say, the cart stops, you know? And then to get it going requires, because it's so large, it requires great effort. So the people who are pulling it, they don't want it to stop again because it's such a trip. So you're in this sea of people, and the people behind you are running with the cart, and the people in front of you are moving at a slower rate. So you know that these people are going to run over you, and there's nothing you can do. So it's the only time in my life that I ever screamed out, Krishna!
Yes.
And then people run on top of you, and if you're lucky, nothing happens to you. I was sitting with 3 devotees afterwards, and we were all trampled, and we all lost our shoes, and 2 of us found our shoes, and 2 of us didn't.
Yes.
Fortunately, I found my shoes.
Actually, yeah. It's a mountains of shoes. Because when this happens, especially shoes that are slippers, people step on the back of your shoes, and then you have to, if you want to be saved, you have to leave your shoes. So it was mountain of shoes, and our devotees, they lost shoes, and then they found more shoes. What else can you share on that? Internally?
Well, I'm not so elevated too.
Oh.
You can pay the pandas a certain amount, and you can go up on the Jagannath part and actually touch Jagannath. And what I remember about Puri in general is that sometimes I would just walk along the street chanting kirtan to myself, and it just felt really comfortable there and accepted, you know. That's what I really liked about it, you know. And all the places of the Chaitanya Lila, you know, the Total Gopinath and the Samadhi of the Haridas Thakur, very special. I lost my glasses because I didn't want my glasses to be stolen, because once they were stolen in Mayapur when I sat on the bank, you know, so I was wearing them in the water, and this wave came and knocked them off. I recommend everyone go to Jagannath Puri. As you say, at least once in your life. I wasn't planning to go. I was planning to travel with Ranjana Swami in Ukraine in April, but he wasn't well. And while I was waiting for April, I enrolled in a Bhakti Vaibhava course, and that didn't finish till like June. And by that time, I heard about the Rath Yatra and how all these swamis were going to the Rath Yatra, and I knew I'd never be in India during the summer, but I was there by accident, so I took advantage of it.
Actually, there is something very, very nice. Everybody told us, this is crazy. It's going to be 50 degrees. But there is something, and I was told it happens every time, like it says in the scriptures, the clouds protecting the Lord.
Wow.
So it was a lot of clouds, and sometimes little rain, to make it very fresh.
Wow.
So the pilgrims and the Lord were protected like that. You really feel in the spiritual world. And if you remember Chaitanya Charitamrita, all this beautiful chapter explaining how Lord Chaitanya and his associates are dancing in ecstasy, you can, you are out of time. It becomes like eternal present. Do we have a little more time? Oh,
Yeah, 2-3 minutes.
okay. Did I ever tell you the beautiful story about eternal present here?
Don't think so.
No? Okay. Actually, I learned that story in Chaupati. We have every year a drama festival. And there was, that story was actually a drama. And it was King Kurushekar, great king, loved by the citizens. But he became fed up with being a king. He wanted to renounce the kingdom and be absorbed in devotional activities. The ministers were really distressed. So they told him, "Dear king, don't give up the kingdom. People are very happy, you're a good ruler. But we are going to call a wonderful Brahmana. Every day for hours, he's going to explain to you, to read to you, the Ramayana, the sacred scriptures." So the king agreed. So the Brahmana came, and he was reading Ramayana. But soon there was some catastrophes, a lot of adventures in the Ramayana. So probably it was the time when Ramachandra was a prince, and he was asked to go and kill some demons by a sage. So when King Kurushekar heard that, he called, he said, ministers, come, call the army. We have to help Lord Ramachandra. So the minister says, "But my lord, it's in the book." No. Call the army. We have to help Lord Ramachandra. And it cost a lot of wealth actually to gather the army. But what can be done? So they went to the Brahmana. They told him, "Next time, when there is something terrible, you don't read. You just read what is good." So the Brahmana read. Then came the wedding of Sita, Ram. Then King Kurushekar called, ministers, open up the treasure house of the kingdom. You have to give gold, grains, clothes. The ministers said, "Oh no." But they thought it is better than gathering the army. So they gave all the citizens gold, jewelry, everything. And every time something auspicious like that happened, King Kurushekar, ministers, distribute. So much so that the citizens became fed up with the gold. They became fat, too much grains. And, they were not grateful anymore. They became fed up. So at one point, the old Brahmana had to go to his village. He never went, but it was something he couldn't escape. So he called his son to read the Ramayana. And he told the son, "You will read every day for so many hours." And he said, "There is something I have to tell you, but I forgot what it is. I can't remember." So he tried to remember, but he couldn't remember. He said, "Never mind, I'm coming soon. Just read and I will be back soon." So the young Brahmana read every day. And then he came to the moment when Lord Rama learned that Madhusita has been kidnapped by Ravana. So, and he read that to King Kurushekar. So King Kurushekar screamed, ministers, ministers! The army, quick, quick! We have to rescue Madhusita. Then the ministers said, my lord, everything is all right, it's just in the book. No, right now I want every soldier in the kingdom. And everybody had to come. And the king was actually walking in front with his sword. He was going to the ocean. We have to cross the ocean to rescue Madhusita. We go to Sri Lanka. Then the army didn't follow in the ocean. And the people felt terrible. Our king is going to die. But he was walking with his sword, and the water came up, and soon we could hardly see his head, just the sword, and everybody was crying. And then what happened? Garuda. Good guess, but what else? Madhusita, Lakshmana, Hanuman, and Lord Ramachandra appeared when the water was coming up and he was going to die. And they really thanked him, and they said, we appreciate so much your help, your devotion. But my dear devotee, everything is all right now. Lord Ram has rescued me. And everything, everybody was so happy, the king came back. But that's what actually we call eternal presence. When we are able to read the scriptures in such a way that it's not only a book, but it becomes eternal present. Very, very beautiful example to remember King Kurushika. Then the Lord appears when you make it eternal present. Doesn't mean you have to die, but to see that this moment with Chaitanya Charitamrita, with Srimad Bhagavatam, with Bhagavad Gita, it's actually our eternal present. Lord. Anybody has anything to share? Nobody lucky.
No, this was all very nice and sweet. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all of you for to be who you are, to be very good servant to Srila Prabhupada's mission. And thank you to keep the deity so beautiful and happy, and to combine deity worship and preaching. It's wonderful. Everything is auspicious, and Lord Krishna will give everything we need here. And maybe one day he will want to become the grand sire of Paris. And he will say, here, my devotees, there is a home in Paris because I'm called Shri Radha Parisisvara. Let's see if it comes soon. But meanwhile, it's a beautiful temple. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Chaitanya Charitamrita ki
Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai,
Mondakini mataji ki
Ananta Kuti, Vaishnava ki jai.
jai.